Everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast, and prepared to have your mind blown on this particular episode. Mr. Ken Rusk is going to be joining us very soon, and we're going to talk about this really unique concept of how he has been building and fulfilling people's lives through their employment with his company, and how he's grown his company and now done over $500 million with this very unique way of building out the business through the value of the people and helping the people within his company achieve their goals through working with the company. It's super unique. Get a pen and paper, please. Write it down. This one will really make you think. And speaking of making you think, if you are interested in predictable revenue and predictable profit for your company, we're here to help you. So reach out to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com and just shoot me an email. Say, I'm interested in growing my company predictably, and we'll get together and figure out how to do it. And some of you have been emailing me in and saying, hey, geez, I didn't think you would work with a company doing a few $1 million. We do. So I know you hear a lot of big names on the podcast sometimes that we've worked with, but it's not just that we work with. So anyways, let's go talk to Ken. Again, really pay attention to this. It is a unique and wonderful concept. Hey, Ken, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here today.
Appreciate it, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Oh, hey, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Why don't you give everybody a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, and then we'll set the frame for the call.
Well, I guess you could accuse me of being a blue-collar entrepreneur, whatever that is. That seems to be the new word of the time. Yeah, I just grew up in blue-collar work in construction. I own a company that does several different types of construction things. It's kind of a holding company that has different companies within it. Started when I was very young at 15, never went to college, held a shovel in my hand for a very long time, and built a company with a couple hundred people in it. And we probably crossed about 500 million in sales over the last 20 or 25, 30, 35 years now, I should say. And yeah, it's been a heck of a ride.
So one of the things I was so excited to have you on for this was because I love the subject matter of our conversation. And you came from a blue collar background. I also came from a blue collar background. My dad was an electrician. He owned an electric motor machinery repair company. I was always greasy going through grade school and high school because I worked with him all the way through. And one of the things I loved about our first conversation is we wanted to focus in on what about whether it's blue collar, white collar, it doesn't really matter, but how about our brain helping us or moving us away from success? And I found our conversation to be very enlightening. And I know there's a lot of listeners that are on this call today that are going, okay, what are they talking about? What we're talking about is you can grow your company. You've done over $500 million. We can grow a company, but we can also stop ourselves from growing the company or impede our growth through how we think, because that how we think is how we react. How we react is what we do, and so on, right? The decisions we make. So what is your take on, Ken, if you don't mind, how does the brain, or why does the brain help us or hold us from success? And why do so many people experience the issues of doing so?
Well, I think everything is pretty much ground in, the way people tend to live their lives, the way they think. And that is, most people tend to live reactive thinking lives where they react to the stimulus that's in front of them, whether it's somebody else, it's the weather, it's the job, it's the particular day, it's the influence of somebody else, it's the parent, it's whoever it might be, the advice giver, the mentor. You have to be careful that you don't spend your life just reacting to everything that's in front of you, and allow the time and the space and the freedom and the pleasure of proacting, of stopping the train for a second and saying, okay, what do I want my life to look like? Like, why am I doing all this? What's the point of all of this anyway? And so my whole world has been revolved around, well, if that's what I do, then I'm sure other people would be interested in doing that too. So I spend 100% of my time working on the images, the pictures, the visions that people want within their own lives in my organization. So, I can't get what I want for myself or my company until everyone within it gets what they want first. It's just a fact. That's how companies work. They're linear creatures. So, why wouldn't you want to be wholly vested and totally interested in helping to develop the pictures and the lives and the visions that people have within your company? Why wouldn't you say, why are you here? What's in it for you to work here? Tell me what your vision is for your next 1, 3, 5, 10 years. What do you want your life to look like? Because if you can get enough people, Doug, all thinking that way, that's where the individual goals of the people working within it align with the corporate goals and the values that you have. That's where you create real growth, real synergy, real momentum. And so, yeah, I think you need to spend a lot of time inside the heads of the people that you have working for you, because you never want to just want to hire that 1/3 of the person. You want to hire the whole person, and that's one way to do it.
So if I heard you correctly, you're aligning the people growth goals with the business growth goals. And that's been part of the magic of growing your company, where you've averaged at least $20 million a year over the last 25 years, if we average it out, right?
Absolutely. The one thing we have to remember as CEOs is, I know we like to go home on Friday and beat our chest and say, wow, I did this and I fixed that and I yelled at this guy and I designed this program and I created this new sales pathway and I did all these things. But I also have high blood pressure. I'm pre-diabetic. I'm unhealthy. I can't remember my kids' first names, and I certainly don't know what sports they're in. And I haven't had a moment to myself, and I can't remember how long. That is absolutely no way to live. You didn't start your company so it would run you. You started so you would run it. And so what I quickly learned is, and again, these are euphemisms, but life either happens to you or you happen to it. That's your call. That's your choice. And I chose to have myself happen to life. And the way I did that was by sharing all of the things that I used to do for a living with other people around me, giving them the autonomy and the entrepreneurial spirit to create results for themselves, and then watch how the more they win as individuals, the more the company wins, because their goals push the goals of the company, or what I like to call the timed pathways of the company, and everybody wins that way. It's so much more fun to walk the hallways, Doug, and say, "Hey, you just got your new pickup truck. That's awesome." Or, "Wow, you just got back from Spain. That's really cool." Or, "How's that new deck on the back of your house?" Or, "I heard your son, because of your practice with him, I heard that he's now breaking 80 on the golf course." It's so much more fun to get that deep into people's lives as a CEO here than it is to walk around saying, "You guys got to do this and we got to hit this goal. We got to raise our game." That's the old way, the boring way of doing it, and the way that's, I think, ineffective. People want to work for themselves first and for you second, whether you know it or not. And I just like to explore that angle.
I want to capture that again. People want to work for themselves first, and then you second. That was a brilliant moment right there, Ken. So, um, because I can only imagine. Well, firstly, thanks for describing my life to a T in my 30s, right? I mean, that was my life. I didn't know where I was, what I was doing, just working all the time, round the clock, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, literally. And it caught up with me and I burned out after a period of time, right? So I can relate to that. But I also can relate to the people who are listening to right now saying, well, this seems kind of touchy feely and it's like a little bit of a, I don't want to call it like woo woo type thing, but it's more of a, you know, won't people take advantage of me, Ken, if I do that? I'm the CEO and I don't lay down the law, how would you respond to that?
Well, it's simple. You have to remember this. In order for somebody to thrive personally, they have to create a result within the company. Okay? They can't just hang out and hope that that new pickup truck shows up in their parking lot or the tickets get booked to Spain. There's an actual mechanism called a timed pathway that we use here. And these timed pathways are posted all over the building. And they're out there. You know, I'll give you an example. I'll give you the Spain example. That somebody just did that. They wanted to go visit their relatives in Spain. They wanted to figure out how they could do that. So they started on January 1st. The trip cost them $5,000. So they figured they're gonna save $2,500 a year. Okay, so that's, 50 bucks a week and 20, you can do the math, right? You can see how the progression happens. So you're taking an if goal and you're turning it into a when. You're dropping the if. You're creating a timed pathway towards that eventuality. Then they note it, the day, the time, they note when they're going to start, they note when they're going to finish, they go to the payroll clerk, they make this thing happen live, and now they're on the pathway like they're riding that train to get towards this particular Spain goal. And we have hundreds of those all over the place, and ones that are live and ones that have been completed. So all I can tell you is whether you know it or not, people should be, and most likely are, working for themselves first and you second. And that's fine. That's what you want. You're looking for selfish people. And I don't mean selfish at the detriment of others. I don't mean that in the negative sense. I mean people who are working on themselves. Because the more they begin to progress and the more they see and the more they can say to themselves, you know what? You know what, Doug? I can get what I want for myself with and through your company. That's pretty cool. I'm going to hang around. I'm going to kick ass for you. I'm going to create a result. I'm going to control my financial future with you, and I'm going to see my life create itself right in front of me. That's the true magic to getting momentum and again to sustain to huge growth way beyond what you could do yourself.
This is way too logical, Ken. We this so like the old adage, who is it? Zig Ziglar, help enough people and you'll get what you want, right? That type of thing, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a very common theme. I love this idea of the time pathway. I want to dig in a little bit. Are you like we're fostering a goal? Let's say I want to go to Spain. I know it costs $2,500. I'm gonna save 50 bucks a week, let's say, toward this goal. And I'm going to work with payroll. So it's kind of like a 401k deduction out of my payroll, but not specifically, but it's something like that. Are we also looking at like, hey, Ken, if I create a new whatever and it grows revenue by X, can we partner up on this internally as an entrepreneur, me as an entrepreneur with you, the entrepreneur, and we could do a little bit of maybe like rev sharing or something like that so I can get that to get to Spain?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you why that's so important because, it's really easy to share money that you don't have yet. Okay. And that's what I tell people. If you're looking to create more of a result than that particular timed pathway, which is $5,000, 50 bucks a week, 2 years, I'm going to be there. And believe me, 2 years goes by like a flash in the pan. We do trips here. I'm actually going to Scotland on Saturday. And we're going to go. This is the third time we've been there. We're going to play golf. We planned this 2 years ago. I mean, it goes by so fast you can't
Yeah.
even believe it, right? So you bite off the elephant one small bite at a time, as they say, right? So yeah, I mean, if someone comes to me and says, I'm gonna find some more revenue, will you give me a piece of that or a bonus off of that? Of course I would. It's money I don't have yet. Why wouldn't I? And if that speeds up their or makes them go from, business class to first class,
Yeah.
right? Or they stay in a nicer hotel, hell yeah, I'm all for that. Because you're really trying to help your employees create stability in their lives, um, anticipation for the future, you're trying to get them to prevent or to gain confidence in their goal setting ability. Okay. You're looking to turn them into goal crushing machines, but most importantly, you're looking for them to create memories of things that they've done that they could have only done with and through your partnership. Okay. Like
Mm.
some of these people aren't going to Spain on their own, not without guidance, not without help, not without 50 other people high-fiving them in the hallway. hey man, you're almost there. You're leaving next month. That is so cool. And then they want pictures when they get back. We want to see the pictures of your trip to Spain. That's the thing that really creates that long-term loyalty. And it's a very, like you said, it's a very mathematical, it's a very logical, but it's also a really emotional thing that you employ, and it works like crazy. We've been doing it for years here, and I got to tell you, I mean, this is my mission now to share this with other people.
This is fantastic. And so not only are we getting these memories done, but these memories are actually going to be anchored to the business itself and the reasons behind working at the business. Studies clearly show that people want money, but they more clearly show that people want recognition and have a feeling of I matter, right? And they'll even give up on some of the finance to actually have that. Um, and I liken this a lot. It's one of my, I would call him one of my mentor heroes, and I don't never met the man, and I would love to. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, um, he he does this like in the fitness world all the time. Like we're gonna start with a goal that isn't, it might be a good goal, but it's not too big, so you're gonna fail on the goal, and then we'll break it down if it's big enough into bite-sized chunks. And if you can lift 1 pound, well, then we'll add a pound and a quarter. And if you can do a pound and a quarter, we'll do a pound and a half. And he helps them work through the process. And I mean, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a very famous guy, but the same thing though, he seems to grab more joy from doing that than actually being the Terminator, right? And all the other things that he's known for in the bodybuilding world. So there's no doubt in my mind that something like this would work. I never thought of it this way though, Ken. And I think there's people probably scratching their head going, how the hell do I start this, Ken? Because it seems so okay, I get the concept, but what do I like? How do I put it together?
Yeah, well, that's the best part. So, first off, you're looking for one person. I mean, here's how we started it here. I bought this 8 foot by 8 foot, which is now much bigger than that. And in the new building we're building, it's way bigger than that. It's a whole hallway. I bought this 8 foot by 8 foot black glass board and I hung it on the wall. And then I bought these neon magic markers, and these are the ones that you would see in front of a Mexican restaurant that have the margarita special of the day, all colorfully written, right? So I got these markers. I found one person that I knew would be really good at this, and I had that person set a goal and write it on the board. Okay. And that's it. We put one goal on the board and we walked away. Uh, it's between the two bathrooms, right? So it gets seen several times a day. And somebody walked up and they said, so this guy is going to buy a new Jeep and he's putting this much money away. And in 2 years, he's going to buy this Jeep. That's pretty cool. What do you think the next thing they said was? How do I get involved in
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
Right? And then pretty soon we had three, then we had seven, then we had 12, and then we had, 28. And now if you come here right now and go outside that door, you'll see about 50 of them that are live right now and another couple hundred that have been accomplished. So this is a place where you have to be chasing something or you almost can't work here. You have to be anticipating something because if you're going to spend 8, 10 hours a day with Ken Rusk, and we're going to do this all together, we all have to win for it. I mean, we all have to win, not just me. Everybody has to win. And so I'm as interested in what you're doing for yourself as I am for my next acquisition.
So is this really creating a movement, Ken? Like it's and the reason I ask this is because there's a famous video on YouTube, used to be famous, where it's like, how do you create a movement? And so there's like this guy, everybody's at a concert. There's a lot of people in the field in the concert. It was like a Grateful Dead type concert, right? There's one guy and he's just dancing around to the music by himself. And everybody's like watching him and watching him and watching him. And then eventually one person comes up and starts to join this guy. And then eventually another person comes up and joins this guy and the other guy. And there's three guys in a field. Then momentum starts happening. You start seeing people get up in threes and fours and fives. And by the end of the video, you have a pretty good community dancing in the field together, right? And I'm kind of likening what I hear on the board to that, where you get this one voice that just gets up on that board and people are walking by and going, huh, Jeep, Jeep, oh, Jeep. How do I get what I want? How do I, and then I start to join the movement. And then as I join the movement, now there's two voices. And then someone else comes by and says, dude, Jeep, this, I think I want, and then they put it up on the board. And now you've got dozens of these things up on the board and you have a community movement. Is it similar? Am I getting this correct? Or is this?
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, so I checked before I got on today. You're number 318 podcasts I've done in the past 2 years. And
Okay.
I am trying to spread this message because, you know, you want companies to be really good at what they do. You want companies to be great places to work. You want companies not to have a revolving door because there's so much money. We did research for this. Do you realize that it costs you between 22 and $4,200 to hire one person? Okay, all in. So if you have a revolving door, how much money are you blowing, that you could be keeping to put back into more fun programs like this? And,
Sure.
and and all I can say is this was not born because Ken Rusk is a genius. This was born because I run a ditch digging company. Okay. So I had to find really cool, fun ways to create culture and environment around here because I was competing against every other job out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it just made sense. Like, for example, I had to work on culture before culture was cool. A lot of people are coming to the table now saying, "Oh, Ken, I got to work on this culture thing now." I'm like, "Yeah, well, welcome. I've been at this for a very long time." So it was born out of necessity, and you're right. I hope it does create a movement because there is simply no other reason to go to work than to develop the picture that you see for yourself. And if that's where you're currently at now, fine. If that's somewhere else, fine. But as the CEO, the boss, or the owner, you had better be ready to create an environment which will attract, develop, and retain these types of people because they're out there and they want that. They want to land somewhere. They want to land on an aircraft carrier where they feel safe and secure and supported and welcome.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it makes total sense. And we've got 2 year or multi-year goals going out. So as we're progressing toward those, the natural tendency as us for an employee, let's assume all other things were happy, we're going to want to stay there to finish the goal out anyways. And so, I you'll either wince or cringe or laugh at this next statistic. I looked at a company one time. They asked me to help them, and they had an 82% annual turnover of their employee base.
oh, wow. Wow. They had to be fun at the company picnic every year. Hey, who are you? What's your name?
Exactly. And he could not figure out for the life of him why he could not grow his company. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, there's one way.
yeah, yeah. And so that was the first thing that we worked on. And we did a bunch of other stuff. The company grew from 48 million to 110 million in 2 years
Wow.
by fixing that issue. And so I wanted to back up what you were saying about the statistics because no one wants to be in a revolving door scenario. People don't come to work for your company, folks, just to go. Most people, maybe it's a short-term thing, but for most people, they're looking for longevity and career path. And take a look at your company. Do you actually offer it? And
Well, yeah, and think about this for a second. So, I use this puzzle analogy a lot, but I think it works. So, if I dump a 1,000-piece puzzle on your table right now and say, "Hey, Doug, I want you to build this puzzle," um, the first thing you would do is you'd say, "Well, okay, where's the box cover?
yeah,
Because I need to know what this is that I'm building, right?" You
yep.
might you might get away with doing the edges, but without the cover, without the picture, you'd be like kind of lost, right? So now imagine having an employee that's at your office and they've built the frame and they're looking at the picture and they're starting to put it together, but you're not presenting a really clear picture for them. So now they're struggling a little bit. Imagine them starting to build it and getting momentum and saying, wow, I'm getting somewhere. I've got the little bike done and I'm getting the clouds and the sun and the flowers. And then all of a sudden, they have to take that puzzle and walk away and go start at another company somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just such a emotional, moral, it's such a grind for them to have to try to pick up and recreate that puzzle somewhere else, putting it on the board, getting it into their car, and hoping it doesn't fall apart before they get to the next job.
Yeah.
So you're right, they want to land, okay, but they want to land at a place that's fun, colorful, musical. It's clear, it's concise, it's detailed, and it's supportive of them and their futures. It's not that difficult to build that. I'm actually writing it. My second book, I'm writing about how to build this culture in a plug and play way. And it's for CEOs to say, okay, well, this is how we do it. This is the roadmap. Because so many people are like, how do I get that culture going? And once you see it, the power of it is so intense. It's a really cool place to be.
And when is the book coming out, Ken?
I'm halfway done. It should be done hopefully by the end of the year. So I'm really humming. I'm having so much fun writing it because this is funny because the first book, Blue Collar Cash, that I wrote, that was the end user's book, like the person who was looking for that place to work. So many people said to me, "Hey, can you write the book from our perspective of how to find these people and retain them?" So I'm
Mm.
having a lot of fun writing it.
All right, so we're marking that down. By the end of December, we will have a new book and another podcast. So I might be, instead of just 318, we might be 398 or whatever. But all right. So let's talk a little bit about, like, this is a great idea because it passes on legacy, right? I mean, and I know you're a big proponent of passing on information to others as part of the legacy of who you are and what you want to accomplish. But while you're doing all of this, dream boards and creating all of this, I was thinking, man, people are going to pass on legacies to their kids if they catch this idea, right? Because they're going to be like, hey, I did this, and they're going to go home and they're going to take that same idea and they're going to apply it to their children, and they're going to teach them how to plan things out and all these good things, that are frankly missing in a lot of uh, family situations today because of whatever reasons. But so, how do you feel about leaving and passing on information and leaving a legacy as part of the journey?
Well, okay, so congratulations, Doug, because out of 317 podcasts, that might be the best question I've ever been asked. And I'm dead serious about that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I would say this. So all I can do is point to examples. I recently gave a speech, and when I talk about speeches about keynotes, ours is more of a consulting interactive keynote. It's not really you're listening to me just bloviate about something. I actually meet with the people before we speak, and then we say, what's the issue? What do you have? And then I try to really cater my talk to that and get people involved. In this particular case, I had people building vision boards on the stage with me
Oh,
where
wow.
the crowd couldn't see them. Okay. And I'll never forget this one. The one gentleman, he wanted to create a better relationship with his son. They had not been connected together very well. So he decided that him and his son were going to go to California and they were going to go on this kind of road trip thing. And so he was drawing that road trip thing out. But the best part was he involved his family in drawing and getting the ideas for the board. Even though he drew it, he had consultation with his son and his siblings, and they were disconnected. I think there was a divorce thing, so it might have been an uncle or whatever, but they all got together and they planned this thing, and then he drew it based on that conversation. What do you think's going to happen to that kid
Oh,
when
yeah.
he successfully goes through this process when he becomes an adult? He's going to say, I need to see what I want my life to look like first, whether it's blue collar, white collar, purple collar, I don't care. I got to see what it looks like first in order to get there. I need the puzzle box.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that, I watched my father build this and it works. So Yeah, all I can say is I encourage people when they're doing these vision boards to involve other people for a couple reasons. Number one, you're going to get a better detailed drawing that way. But number two, you're also now you have three or four people who you're sharing this with who are now going to help you put their hand on your shoulder because you're going to trip, you're going to fall, you're going to stumble along the pathway to getting there. But these people are going to pick you up and say, you got this. So one of the most powerful things you can do with any timed pathway is share it with someone. And if they help, if they got skin in the game and helping you build it, man, it's just so much better that way.
It's the power of the mastermind being worked in a different way, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is what we're doing is what you're doing, Ken, is you're creating legacy not just in one space. Now you're creating legacy throughout because people are going to go, this is so cool. I need to do this with my kids or my family or my peer group or whatever. And you get people doing this, and then again, the movement. You now have more than 3, 4, 5 people. You got a whole community doing this, which then ends up branching out into other communities. I love this idea. I never thought about it applied to business in the way you are doing it. And I find it not only just like fascinating and innovating, but it's one of those things that it's so sensible. Like why wouldn't we do this? Like I just wrote down, like I have a new company that we're building with partnerships. And I'm like, why don't we just do this in the company from day one, right? And so I thank you for the gift. I
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Yeah,
Uh,
anytime.
and thanks for being here. How do people know more about you, the concept? Where would they go?
Well, they can go to kenrusk.com and they can see the book there. I have a course, I have an employee course where you can book club it. That was the really cool thing, Doug. Um, I thought this book was my first book, Blue Collar Cash, was for end users, you know. Well, it turns out it is, but a lot of companies are now book clubbing it. They're
Wow.
buying books and then they're reading a chapter a week with their employees and getting together because what they're looking for is these entrepreneurs to show up, these entrepreneurs. You know, they're looking for those people to kind of show up and say, "Hey, I could be that guy or that gal for you." And that was a surprise reader for me. But I mean, hey, again, I've been very blessed. It became a bestseller that way. So who am I to who am I to ask, right? But yeah, you can go to kenrusk.com. You can find the book there, the course there. I also do like webinar type things. Like if your company goes through the course, I meet with them weekly on some type of a Zoom scenario where I can help them through it. And yeah, it's been a blast because you see, I mean, I had a road building company in North Dakota go through this, and I did it in February. I was up there; it was 17 degrees below zero all day long, and but it was fun to see the transformation of these guys into, wow, I can control my future. It was really cool. So yeah, I encourage people to go there and check it out.
Ken, thanks so much for being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast and bringing the A plus plus game to this call. I really appreciate that. I know the users do as well. So I'd love to have you when you're getting ready for the new book. Let's bring you back, and if you're open to doing so.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. So, what time pathways can you create for your employees? Now, what if you don't even have employees? What if you're starting the process out? Because I got a new company we're growing out in the insurance business, for example. And I already started writing ideas on how we're going to implement this for people who are coming forth, whether they're employees or they're working with us in a 1099 capacity. I want you to think through this deeper and deeper and deeper. Retention and keeping people with you who are entrepreneurial, but willing to work with an entrepreneurial spirit within your company and within that framework is huge leverage for you. And when you do this and do this right, I've seen it not as unique as Ken has explained it. I've seen this work within culture, within companies that I have worked with, and creating that value-based culture within your company is always important because it's a human need, folks. We all want significance and we all want to feel like we matter. And when you get that within your workplace, you look forward to going there versus, oh, I got to show up and do this today, right? So send in your comments as you always do. Let us know how you like this. If you love this, I'm going to ask you, please go up and give it a 5-star review. I'd be forever grateful to do that. If you're interested in predictable revenue, predictable profit, you're interested in growing your company and you want some assistance to do that, reach out to me directly at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. I do have people who check my email, but we will always answer you and I will get back to you personally as well. If you want to know more about me, Doug Brown 123, that's my LinkedIn. Check out Ken's information at kenrusk.com and really think through how you can do this in your life, no matter if you're just a small company with a few people or you're a much larger company with dozens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people, how you can employ this strategy to preempt your competition from being able to steal your best people. All right, with that in mind, as I say always, go out and sell something today. Play win-win-win. You win, they win, someone else wins. Don't discount when you don't have to. You got to sell way more than you usually figure to make up for that discount. Remember to add more value. You won't have to discount. And again, make somebody's day happy and really consider, how are you going to create these time pathways and these entrepreneurial pathways for the people who work for or with you. Till next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast saying, to your success.